Okay, I think we're slowly seeing people stream in, Raena. So let's give everyone a minute or so to join.
Yeah, sure. Hi everyone.
Yeah, they're definitely here. So everyone who's here, just leave us a note in the session feed. Say hi, give a reaction. Thank you so much, so that we know you're here and tuning in. So first and foremost, now a lot of you here would have went through, I hope, our online entrepreneurship course, human-centered entrepreneurship course. And if you did, you would be no stranger to Raena Lim and Style Theory because they are featured in our case studies. So Style Theory is Southeast Asia's largest fashion and designer clothing subscription box platform. And today we have with us Raena Lim, co-founder and COO of Style Theory. Raena, thank you so much for taking time. It's the end of the year. In fact, it's 12/12, so I know it's a really, really busy period for you. So we really appreciate having you here today. I know you believe that subscription-based fashion could be the key for a more eco-conscious lifestyle, changing the world people consume fashion with a business model based on the sharing economy. And this is definitely something that all our listeners and our teams here today resonate with. So I'm going to kick off with, we're going to do today's session as a little fireside chat. So I'll have a couple of questions to kick off with you. But to everyone else listening in, again, same as before, feel free to leave questions in the Q&A. Okay, Raena. So first question. You have a really exciting career, right? You were a banker at Goldman Sachs. Before that, you did nonprofit work in Kenya. And your husband and co-founder, Chris, was a consultant at Bain. So another high-paying role, right? How in an Asian, especially in an Asian culture where it's all about being a banker, lawyer, doctor, earning the big bucks, right? How do you get the courage and conviction to leave and start Style Theory?
Um, well, I think it's a journey. I think I didn't start up wanting to be like an entrepreneur. I don't even think that I really thought about that word at all back in school. So I think in school it was just really, I'm one of those kids that don't really have a very direct passion. I just know that I like to do everything to my best and just perform up to a standard that, I can be proud of. So I think I just kind of find a few areas in school that I'm interested in, and then business at that time was something that I thought was interesting. So I took finance as one of my major in school, and then I graduated, and that's when I realized, oh, I actually don't really like finance that much. So in the sense of like the traditional investment banking and sales and trading type of role, back in my uni days. So at that time, I was already exploring what can I use finance as, as a tool, because finance is actually a very fundamental of our current society, in terms of how a society is built and stuff. So I was exploring and working with this NGO, helping them to develop financial curriculum to teach people what is income, what is revenue, cost, and what is savings. Because a lot of people that we help in Kenya, they actually don't have the concept of saving. So for them, saving is just putting money under a rock and just keeping it there so that it doesn't get stolen. So there's no concept of interest and stuff like that. So we developed a curriculum, go down there, and then eventually realized that the bank was too far, so we needed to build a bank actually. So we did that, and then gradually I started talking to the business owners there, and we introduced microcredit financing there to help them to give them very very small low interest loan so that they can actually build up their business to the next scale and cater to more than just their village. So I love like my journey there in Kenya. But I think when I was speaking with my professor, he thinks that it's too early for me to join an NGO at this point. He wanted me to really pick the brains of the smartest people. So at that time, he got me an interview with Goldman, and I was just like, oh, okay, like why don't I just try it out and see? And I had such fun during like the interview process. People were so smart. And I was just like, oh, I can learn so much from these people. So I decided to join, and they sent me back to Asia. And I was actually working in India for a period of time. But I knew that I wouldn't stay very long in finance because it wasn't an area of passion for me. So I was looking out at other startups and like Grab, Uber at that time, I was interviewing with them 5 years into my finance career. And at that time, I was just thinking, okay, like startup, they're all trying to make an impact. They're trying to change the world a little bit. And I was so excited about the stuff that they are telling me. So I'm just like, okay, I'm going to try it out. So that's when I jumped into the startup world. Chris, on the other hand, he has a little bit of like his journey in management consulting, but he really wanted to figure out what works the best for him because he wants to feel like he's making an impact every day. And sometimes he doesn't find that from his direct job because there's a lot more things that he has to do as a client. He doesn't have full control. So he wanted to get that full control. So he's very entrepreneurial and he wanted to build a startup. So that's when we decided to like, hey, we have this idea, this crazy idea. Women always have clothes, and then they still always complain that they have no clothes to wear. Like, why? So we decided to figure out if we could solve it, even though we are both obviously, not really fashion people from our background. So yeah, so that's how we jump into style theory.
Oh, thanks so much for sharing that. And I think one thing that was really fascinating about what you said is that you always knew you weren't going to be in finance because it wasn't about the passion. Now, I want to ask you about passion, but I do want to ask you a little bit about success, right? So, to you, how actually do you define success? And maybe along with that as well, for all the teams here and all the students here, how will you then advise them to seek their purpose and passion?
So I might I might help some of you guys out there who maybe doesn't have a very direct passion, or maybe you are right now still finding what you want to do. I think for myself, I always strive to do the best in school, and so that I have as many options as I can. And then I think from then onwards, I know that societal has this idea that you need to be a lawyer, a doctor, or an engineer or a banker to be successful, or a certain amount of money you need to earn every month. Um, I was I was also under such pressure, but I think I was telling myself that okay, like would I really be happy? And I was also encountering a lot of people who are actually measuring their success by how happy they actually feel, and that was something that was quite alien to me growing up in school, right? Because it's not about how happy you are, it's about how good of a grade you get. So when I was studying in Canada, I think I was introduced to that concept of like happiness as a measure of success. So that to me was fascinating. And then I think as I work with more and more people with like from different fields, the doctors, the marine biologists, I realized that my own success factor would be how much impact can I make or how much of a legacy I can actually leave behind that can help to improve life because I have actually tried my best. So I think for me, that has been my driving force to know that something has changed for the better because I have tried to make it better. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Reina. Okay, Raghav has a question. So, what have been some of your key learnings while, I guess, not just working at, but also really launching and running Style Theory and scaling?
Oh, it's so damn hard. I think it's doing a business is not easy, but I think it's just you learn so much. Like sometimes I will ask Chris like, oh my gosh, like all these things that we have to do, like is it really worth it? But when you think back about all the learnings that you have, right, you realize that if you are not paid a single cent at all, you will still do it because it really helps you to grow so much as a person. And I think it really helps you to think about like, okay, now that you have acquired all this thing, you have actually found like such a good group of people who believe in the same mission, and that really like revitalize you every day and makes you want to like come back to work and do the things that you do, and then gradually seeing the impact that you are making in the society. I think that's very very fulfilling for me. So I think some of the key learnings will be that it's hard, but in hindsight I will still do it. And I think that very practical key learnings will be like get your finance, accounting, and all those structures and policy up as quickly as you can, because as neat as you have a foundation to start with, the easier it is for you to scale later on. Um, and I think the last one is always to remember why you do it for. I think throughout my course of like my 4.5 years, there were so many times where we met investors who wanted us to do things differently, who wanted us to go into different countries, and we kept going at what we truly believe in. And I think that's what really helped us to stay motivated in this journey.
Thank you. We have a question here on, what's the biggest barrier for you when you first started out Style Theory?
Mm. So when I first started style theory, the biggest barrier was that I have a completely zero knowledge about fashion, and it is a very close community. So you can't really easily find such information online. There's a lot of jargons, a lot of terms that they are used within the industry, and it's a very well established industry. That for me, when I pitched my idea to any designers, everyone was just like, "Oh wow, okay, that's like really far fetched. You know, how can it even work?" Um, and we have to actually really pitch to them the vision that we have, and just really entice them to come to just join us and try it out. So I think that was our biggest barrier. I think I was so like even fundamental jargons I didn't even know. So I was actually pitching to the designer and be like, oh, you know, this is what we want to do. This is what style theory is. And then they will ask me some questions in some jargons, and I cannot really make them feel like I don't know my stuff. So Chris will be googling in the background, and then he will whisper to me what it means. And then I'll just be like, oh yeah, that or FOB, yeah, I know what that means, you know, and then I continue on. So I think that at the very beginning was the biggest barrier. And then the second one would be the people, finding people, because you don't really have much money, but you want really good people. So at the very beginning, we had to start off with interns and part-time staff. We couldn't hire full-time staff. Yeah.
I think that great that you answered the first one, which is really getting that industry knowledge. I think this ties into your previous point as well. So, how would you recommend? What do you think is the best way for the teams here to actually go and learn all this, right? Whether it's accounting, digital marketing, and finance, and all that knowledge about startups. What's their best and quickest way to learn that?
Yes, so I think Google is definitely a very great tool. I think there's a lot of academy out there right now that you can learn even for free. I remember like just last year Harvard was offering some free courses as well in very technical areas. So I think now there are a lot of areas where you could get such information that wasn't available like, you know, 4.5 years back or even 5 years back. Another way that I found really helpful was that you speak with people and you have to be very shameless about it. You know, I was co-emailing. I co-email people. I call them out, and I'm just like, oh, in a one-on-one setting, I could tell them that, hey, you know, this I'm not very familiar with. Could you explain to me how it works? And just from then onwards, you learn quickly, and you are able to build on that knowledge very fast. And you'll be very surprised that a lot of people are very willing to share. So you just need to take that first shameless step in reaching out.
And I think it's really, really important, right? Because on one hand, to certain people, you might have to position yourself as knowing your stuff. But the only way you can learn and grow is actually really by admitting that you don't know it and really taking steps to learn, right? So don't just try to like bullshit your way through,
Oh
but
no.
really take steps to the back to go and learn and speed up. And sometimes the best way as well is to come clean to mentors, to advisors as well, and just be a sponge and absorbing all that. So along with that, Raena, any key advice you would give an unexperienced youth, someone who's still in school? So we have students here today from age 10 to 17.
Yeah, I think be brave, really be brave, because this journey, like people always kind of have the sense that, I think from the questions that they ask me, it seems like I know what I'm doing, but a lot of times it's really experimenting, and like even for when we first started Style Theory, I don't even know if it was gonna work. I was asking like my friends and family, and it was 50-50. So that's like almost the worst answer you can get, right? Because like it doesn't tell you that, oh yeah, you should go for it, or no, and yeah, oh yeah, you should kill it. You know, it's like, oh yeah, I think maybe it could work, maybe it couldn't. So we really had to figure that out on our own. We started a landing page and then ran experiment on it. So every part of that journey, right? I mean, from growing from like a 2 people team to become like a 300 people team, we were learning all along. So you just have to have courage and have resilience in what you're doing, and know that what you're doing is really gonna be better for the world. Yeah.
Thanks, Raena. I think one final question, which is from Kai, who is asking that, working at a firm at Goldman, and I guess the question is basically, having a big name corporation, having experience from, whether your Ivy Leagues or your big corporates, does that help you in advertising style theory and making the connections that you've gotten so far?
Very much. So, I know people don't like to hear this, but it is true. It does help. So, like even in my cold emails that I sent out, I started off with the fact that I'm actually from Goldman. I left Goldman. I'm building a business on my own, and this is a vision that I have, and why I think this is going to change the world, and why I think you need to listen to this and be on board. So, I think that Goldman name definitely help people to be like, hey, this person is not joking around. I think she might really have something, so let's hear her out. So at least I get that first meeting. So I think that's on like the pitching side. Even I think for me, I had a lot of personal relationship from Goldman and stuff that also helped me with establishing my investor network that allow me to know who I can reach out to get funding and or even start to pitch an idea and get feedback on what the investors think about my idea. So definitely a lot. I think for both Chris and myself, Goldman and Bien has been very helpful.
Yeah, I guess that's the honest truth. I mean, personally, for myself as well, I also do tend to share that when I share that I came from banking and left IB to actually become a teacher, it does add some credibility there. Unfortunately, that is the world we live in. But I love your previous advice really about being brave and taking that step. One last thing, Raena. I know I said that was the last question, but this is the last one, which is 2020 has been a really, tough year for a lot of people. And I think similarly for Style Theory as well. Although congrats on opening your first and launching into Hong Kong, right? So
Thank you.
if I could ask you, what is one big key learning or proudest achievement that you've took away this year?
Mm. So I think that Style Theory has been growing so quickly. We have scaled up within 4 years to become to be in 3 different countries, right? So for us, the number of people in the team grew as well very quickly, and all along we knew that we had a great team. But you really don't know how great of a team you have until you face a crisis like COVID. So because in good times, it's easy to just, be around and work together. But in tough time, can everyone, go on a pay cut together? Can everyone really withstand together all the stress of COVID and fight alongside to build up the company to become even better? So I thought that all the investment we made in people for the past 4 years really paid off during this COVID because we saw how people were like standing together. People were telling me that, hey, Raena, I could take a 50% pay cut, like let's do this together. So I think that for me was such a good investment, and I would never know until a crisis hit. So yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Raena and team and all the attendees here. Thank you again for your questions. And can you guys all send a little bit of reaction, send a bit of love to Raena and thank her for taking time to spend and answering our questions here today. And now I would like to get all of you to actually move back to the other session where we'll be doing the top 6 announcement and the closing ceremony. So thank you again, Raena, for taking time and inspiring our students today.
No
See you
worries.
around.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Bye.